Now let's have a look at target organ of where the hormone will be targeted to or transported to in the blood. And you see the role. So let's start first by looking at the structure of the pituitary gland. Here's the pituitary gland as it is located over here, and above it you have your hypothalamus. Here's your hypothalamus, and they normally work together. Your pituitary gland, you're not required to label it, but you are required to identify its location, that it is at the base of the brain, and just above it or just next to it is the hypothalamus, which is also working together with your pituitary gland or the hypophysis. Now let's talk about the hypothalamus. Now hypothalamus, this is your endocrine gland which secretes ADH, also known as the antidiuretic hormone, and the target organ will be the kidneys. Remember, this is responsible for water balance, the reabsorption of water in the renal tubules. So you'll have to go back to grade 11 and remember the structure of the nephron inside the kidneys, and therefore you'll be able to understand how water is reabsorbed. And of course, this is to protect against dehydration. And then you also have your pituitary gland, which is responsible for secreting TSH. And your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, it's self-explanatory because it is going to stimulate the thyroid gland, and this thyroid gland, it will be now your target gland. This is the structure of the thyroid gland found just at your voice box or your trachea, which is your windpipe. And now this stimulates the thyroid or the growth of the thyroid gland, and as well as it causes the thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine. It stimulates the thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine, and thyroxine will therefore play a role in the metabolic rate in your body. Then we go to still under pituitary gland, your FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. You learned that FSH will target the ovaries. It will be transported through the blood to your ovaries, from the pituitary gland straight to the ovaries over there. That's how it will be transported, and therefore stimulates the development of the follicles, which produces the hormone estrogen, and also stimulates the ova in the female. Ovulation, leading to ovulation there. And funny enough, they are saying even for the male, FSH stimulates the testes to produce spermatozoa, but I do know that normally it is your testosterone that does that. But anyway, let's move on from that. Now you have your LH, luteinizing hormone. Again, your target organs will be your testes as well as the ovaries, and of course in the ovaries, it stimulates the maturation of the ova just before the release, which we know as the ovulation. So luteinizing hormone, if you remember the graph of menstrual cycle, the luteinizing hormone, it's at its peak on the just before the 14th day when the ova is about to be released. So that makes sense that it stimulates the release of the egg or the release of the ova. Now in the testes, of course, luteinizing hormone during what is known as puberty, it stimulates the production of the male hormone, which is the testosterone. And this happens, if you still remember, the cells of Leydig. Cells of Leydig are the ones that are responsible for secreting testosterone. So it means luteinizing hormone affects those cells, and therefore those cells will therefore stimulate testosterone. Then you have prolactin also being secreted by the pituitary gland and mammary glands are your target organs, and of course for milk production immediately after giving birth. And you also have your growth hormone, your GH, which targets the bone and the muscle cells so that you can grow as tall as you are right now, from the size you were as a toddler to the size you are right now. There is a huge difference. That means that your pituitary gland has been secreting the growth hormone. Even now you are still growing to become an adult, so that role is played by the growth hormone, and it stimulates growth of long bones and the skeletal muscles. Then moving on to the adrenaline. Now adrenaline, of course, you have it is secreted by what, this hormone, this endocrine gland here just above the kidneys. These are called the adrenal glands. So adrenal glands, they secrete adrenaline, which is your fight or flight hormone. So there are many target organs that are going to be affected by the adrenaline. Adrenaline is just when you are either ready to fight or fight. Flight meaning to run away. When you are in a stressful situation, maybe you see a snake or maybe a dog is chasing you, what is going to happen is that the adrenaline is going to be secreted by the adrenal glands, and this is going to target the heart, meaning it is going to increase the heart rate and the blood supply to the cardiac muscles, so that now you will receive more oxygen to the muscles, and can start now be able to run away or jump or whatever that will help you at that situation to escape, right? So the liver as well will be a target. Then this converts the stored version of glucose, the glycogen, will be converted into glucose, because glucose is needed for cellular respiration, and knowing that cellular respiration produces energy, you do need that energy so that you can be able to escape that stressful event, whether you are seeing a snake or running away from a dog or whatever that may be a very stressful event. You are going to need glucose, so that glucose can be broken down during cellular respiration to produce energy. And also the skeletal muscles, of course, they are going to need more blood. The blood will supply more oxygen as well as more glucose, so that they can work or perform at an optimal level. And then you also have your eye muscles, your pupil dilation, meaning your pupil is going to become bigger or wider during that stressful event. You will also, your skin there, meaning the decrease in the blood supply. So most people who are in a stressful situation, they become pale, meaning that blood has decreased, because now blood has to be sent to priority organs such as your skeletal muscles as well as your liver, and you'll be able to now convert glycogen into glucose, and your muscles are going to get enough energy. And also the lungs, so that you can exhale enough carbon dioxide and inhale enough oxygen, which is also needed for cellular respiration. And the body cells, now for body cells, we know that the metabolic rate will increase. Metabolic rate referring to the cellular respiration of producing that energy that you need to escape that situation. And again, going back to your ovaries and testes, these are the structures. Oh, by the way, we still have the structure here of the adrenal gland, which is situated on top of the kidney, and they will therefore secrete adrenaline. in the what, into the blood directly. And I almost forgot aldosterone, which will target the kidneys as well. This is important for salt balance or the sodium balance. And the sodium balance, we'll talk more about that. Why is it important? It also works hand in hand with ADH. So water balance and salt balance are quite related. So I will talk lengthily about that. And now let us move on to the ovaries and testes. I think you are familiar with that structures, with those structures, very much important. Estrogen, thickening of the endometrial lining or the wall, of course, fertility, as well as secondary sexual characteristics in the female. And also I know it is very important in the growth of the follicle. And then progesterone thickens the vascular uh, the vascular or the blood vessels in the endometrium lining, and also maintains the implantation during pregnancy, meaning it just maintains the pregnancy there, the gestation period. And you also have your testes, which stimulate the development of the male sex organ and characteristics, also promoting the maturation of the sperm cells into becoming more mature to fertilize the ova. Now, coming back to what we call the pancreas. This is the structure of the pancreas, and the pancreas is very much important when we are looking at the blood sugar level or glucose. And we also have an endocrine gland. This endocrine gland secretes what? Insulin as well as glucagon right here, which are directly secreted into the bloodstream. Why? Because that is where your blood glucose is. And now insulin will attempt to decrease the amount of blood if the blood is too high, sorry, the amount of sugar if the sugar is too high in the blood, and glucagon attempts to increase the blood sugar levels if your blood sugar has decreased or is low. Maybe if you haven't eaten the whole day, you are going to get your supply of sugar from glucagon. Now you also have your blood vessel. There it is. This is how these endocrine glands are going to secrete the insulin and glucagon into the blood. Then you have what is known as a pancreatic duct, and therefore we say now this is the exocrine gland. Remember, we said an exocrine gland, what it does is it secretes hormones or substances directly into a duct or an organ. So that is the reason why we say that the pancreas is an endocrine and an endocrine system.